This day in sports history. It's February 27th, and stop me if you've heard this one before, but on this day, a ragtag bunch of young American boys took on the powerful Soviet hockey team on U.S. soil and shocked the world with a one-goal win in the Olympics, and a couple of nights later secured the gold medal. Only, this is not the 1980 Al Michaels' Do You Believe in Miracles? Turn it into a movie starring Kurt Russell game. Instead, this was 20 years before that, in the original Miracle on Ice, or what came to be known as the Forgotten Miracle. So this is the 1960 Olympics in Squaw Valley, California. The U.S. team was not expected to be competitive in these games. They had not done well at all in any of the pre-Olympic warm-up games. The Soviets, the Swedes, the Canadians, and the Czechs were the top four teams expected to battle for the medals. One of the American players, Bill Cleary, remembers that Sports Illustrated picked the U.S. to finish dead last. Herb Brooks, the coach of the 1980 team, had been the last player cut in 1960. And there was actually some controversy here. Brooks was cut to make room for Bob Cleary, Bill's brother. Neither of the Cleary brothers had tried out for the team, and while Bill was one of the top college hockey players in the country, the guys didn't know anything about Bob and thought his inclusion was unfair. The Clearys were given the cold shoulder initially, with guys refusing to talk to them, and discussions were had about just going out to California, having a good time, and not playing hard. Bill finally cleared the air and got everybody back on the same page when he stood up prior to the first game and he said, "I didn't come 3,000 miles to lose. We don't have to hug and kiss. I just want you to pass me the puck." Well, on their way to this night, the Americans beat Czechoslovakia 7-5, followed that up with a 12-1 thrashing of Australia to advance to the medal round. And side note, this was Australia's first and only appearance in Olympic hockey, which is understandable when you learn that they lost all 6 games they played, they scored only 8 goals, and they gave up 57. All right. Well, the U.S. beat Sweden 6-3, Germany 9-1, and what may have been even the more impressive win in these games for the Americans is they beat the Canadians 2-1. U.S. goalie Jack McCartan had 39 saves in that win. On this night, it was the showdown with the Soviets. Bill Cleary scored the first off an assist from his brother Bob to take a 1-0 lead. But the Americans gave up 2 quick ones in the next 5 minutes, and they trailed going into the second. The Americans had another brother duo on the team, Bill and Roger Christian, and they teamed up for goal number 2.
And it's fared up to Roger Christian. Across to Williams. Over to Bill. Bill shoots. Goal!
It stayed that way deep into the third when the U.S. found the back of the net again. And once again, it was Bill Christian lighting the lamp.
Now it's Roger Christian deflected by Williams. Roger Christian again, number 10. To Williams, out in front. Goal!
Bill's wrister out in front put the U.S. up 3-2 with 5:01 left. The Russians came with an onslaught of shots, but McCartan, with a little help from his teammates, turned them all away.
Roshap across the Patukov is right in front, and it's just cleared by Mayasech coming by. Mayasech just came in to clear that puck. But the Soviet Union almost tied it up. Here's Bill Cleary fighting.
The U.S. hung on to win 3-2. The overflowing crowd at the Blythe Center erupted as the players launched their sticks into the air. After the game, a teary-eyed Anatoly Tarasov, the coach of the Russian team, came to the U.S. locker room, offered his congratulations to the players and coaches, and handed a bottle of vodka to Bill Cleary. Cleary has kept that bottle unopened in his Boston home ever since. But similar to 1980, the win over the Soviets was not the end. The U.S. had to beat the Czechs in the final game of the tournament to secure the gold medal. After falling behind early, the U.S. scored 6 goals in the third period to win 7-5. Now, this was a round-robin tournament as opposed to what we have today with a gold medal game and a bronze medal game, and by virtue of the U.S. finishing undefeated, they won the gold medal. The Canadians won silver, and the Russians won the bronze. The Czechs finished fourth. The notoriety lasted about a week, and then the guys mostly went back to their regular lives. Only 2 of the players would go on to play in the NHL. Bill Cleary received offers to play in Montreal and Boston, but he turned them down. Instead, he went on to coach hockey at Harvard for 19 years, and later became the athletics director there and had 0 regrets, saying, "I wouldn't trade any chance to march in the Olympics parade of athletes for 100 Stanley Cup championships." When it was over, we all went back to our lives, and that's the way we wanted it. Hey, real quick, you've heard me talk a lot about the Sterling Soap Company over the past few months, and if you haven't tried out their soaps, I get it. It's not easy changing up your routine. But let me just say, if you give them a try, I'm nearly 100% certain you will have 0 regrets. They carry not only bar soap, but shave soap, liquid body soap, body lotions, beard balm, lip balm, and a lot more. Plus, there are myriad scents to choose from. Their products are made with natural ingredients and scented oils, and they are committed to being environmentally conscious. And I always get a handwritten note on my packing slip, so I know it's been checked before shipping, and it's a nice little human touch in a world that seems to be going away from that. Give Sterling Soap a try today at sterlingsoap.com. Let's step back a year to 1959 and revisit what happened with Bob Cousy and the Boston Celtics. On this day, the Celtics were hosting the Minneapolis Lakers, and none of the more than 12,000 at the Garden that day had any idea what kind of offensive explosion they were about to witness. It's not that the Celtics didn't score points. They were routinely scoring 120 or 130 points a game that season behind the play of their sprightly and flashy point guard, Cousy. It's just, how do you imagine that your team is going to score 52 points in the fourth quarter to bury the Lakers 173 to 139? 2 Celtics had double-doubles. Tommy Heinsohn led all scorers with 43 and he pulled down 11 rebounds. Cousy scored 31, but dished out an NBA record 28 assists. In fact, there were 7 NBA records set in this game. Most points by one team, combined points, most points by a losing team, and a few others. Cousy's assist record stood alone for 4 years until Guy Rogers equaled it in 1963. It wasn't until Kevin Porter handed out 29 in a game in 1978 that it was topped. Scotty Skiles holds the record now with 30 dimes in a 1990 game. It wasn't until 1983 that the records for most points by one team and points by a losing team were bested in the same game when the Pistons beat the Nuggets 186 to 184 in triple overtime. Hey, I needed to call a quick timeout to let you know that we're giving away a $50 gift card to Homefield Apparel. Have a favorite college sports team? Of course you do. You're listening to a sports podcast. Well, Homefield Apparel has all the great gear so you can support your team in style. Jerseys, hoodies, hats, and a whole lot more are available in your team's colors and insignias. So go to sportshistorynetwork.com/giveaways for your chance at a $50 gift card to Homefield Apparel. I've also put a link in the show notes. Now, let's get back out there. We've got more of this episode to do. On this day in 2017, it was an interesting day for Jose Calderon. The 35-year-old Calderon started off the day as an LA Laker until Golden State expressed some interest. After playing in 24 games for the Lakers that year, Calderon gave up his remaining $400,000 contract with LA to sign with the Warriors. At 6:06 p.m. Eastern Time, the Warriors issued a press release announcing the addition of Calderon. And then, Kevin Durant got injured, and the Warriors needed somebody to fill that void, and Calderon was not that guy. So, at 8:05 p.m. Eastern Time, the Warriors announced the release of Calderon and the signing of Matt Barnes instead. So, Calderon was in a bit of a spot with no signed contract. The Lakers were not obligated to pay him any longer, and even though Calderon's name was on the back of a number 8 Warriors jersey in preparation for their game at Philadelphia that night, his name was not on a contract. The Warriors were under no legal obligation to pay him, But they did the right thing, and they paid the remaining $415,000 on what would have been his contract with the Lakers. So, in essence, Jose Calderon spent 2 hours as a Golden State Warrior and got paid in full. Not a bad gig. Somebody cue up the Dire Straits record. And on this day in 1992, 16-year-old Tiger Woods played in his first PGA Tour event. He was playing as an amateur at the Nissan LA Open. He opened with a 72 at the Riviera Country Club and followed that up with a 75 the following day. He missed the cut and would not play another PGA Tour event for another 3 years when he competed as an amateur at the Masters. And time now for today's That's Got Nothing to Do with Sports fun fact. It is a myth that Michelangelo painted the Sistine Chapel on his back. He and his assistants built a scaffold, and he painted the ceiling while standing. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.